Okay, so this is the perception of prescription drug abuse among adults. And we started out with, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, there are 3 commonly abused prescription drugs: opioids, CNS depressants, and stimulants. There are several factors that lead to prescription drug misuse and abuse. Typically, those are underuse, inappropriate use, overuse, erratic or disorganized use, and in conjunction with alcohol or illegal substances. Stress, economic and financial hardship, and even locations are contributors. Prescription drug abuse is more common among non-Hispanic whites and American Indian or Alaskan Natives than any other nationality or ethnicities. So one study that we found concluded that the more prominent areas for non-medical use of prescription opioids is in rural low-income areas. One interesting find is that this problem is perhaps something that is unique and of high interest to the U.S., as only 3 out of the 38 studies reviewed took place in other countries. So therefore, we focused on the U.S. So based on our review, we wanted to conduct research to understand how many average Americans become addicted to prescription drugs every day. What prescription drugs are most commonly abused? How long does it take for an addiction to prescription drugs to develop? And do they most often begin with pain medications being prescribed due to an injury? Where are the most common or high-risk areas for prescription drug distribution, trafficking, and abuse within the U.S.? So our methods: we surveyed a simple random sample from BYUI list of email addresses. For our method, we sent the IRB approved survey to random email addresses that were provided from BYU. We felt that choosing a simple random sample method, we were able to obtain a large enough sample, which was 300 participants. We then sought to obtain the viewpoints of our participants in regards to the prescription drug abuse and misuse. So we received 31 responses to our survey in our results, and they were questions that asked the participants to choose the best option in regards to their perception. There were no yes, no questions, thus helping us to obtain a more precise answer to our question. Our hypothesis displayed that more participants were going to be aware of prescription drug abuse in the U.S. than those who weren't. And using a chi-square test, we obtained a p-value of 0.901, and therefore that suggests that we are 95% confident that the hypothesis is true. So, as in all research, there are certain limitations to these survey results. One of the greatest limitations that we noticed results from the sample size. So, of the 300 participants that we invited to participate in the survey, only 31 responded. So, unfortunately, of the 31 participants who did respond, 3 participants didn't answer one or more of the questions, resulting in an incomplete survey. The sample size is relatively small and wouldn't be considered a representative sample of the entire U.S. population. In addition to having a small sample size, the type of individuals who participated in our survey could have also produced bias in the survey results, because all the participants were BYUI students, mostly ranging from ages of 18 to 29. A second limiting factor includes the potential influence of bias from the student living standards required by the university, so including complete abstinence of any substance abuse. So because of these standards, the participants have already been more aware of the consequences of prescription drug abuse compared to the general population. Another limiting factor arises from the sample's individual demographics. So the sample contained several more students that were female than male. And interestingly enough, 65% of our respondents were from the Western U.S. And in their responses, when asked, where do you think the most common areas for prescription drug abuse in the U.S. are, they gave the answer of the West. So finally, after reviewing the questions and responses, it was concluded that one of our questions had too much bias. About 85 or 84% of our participants responded that they would be likely to seek treatment for prescription drug abuse. If this percentage was an accurate representation of the population, then prescription drug abuse likely wouldn't be a growing concern as it is within the US. So it's our conclusion that the question was likely too biased and may have persuaded the participants to respond by choosing the correct response instead of answering their true opinion or perspective. So that was our poster with my group, and or my poster with my group, and that's it.